Thanks for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Cambridge Votes 2014, a conversation with the candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. I'm Greg DeRoche, your President and CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to sit down with mayoral candidate Linda Whetham. Linda, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this, Greg.
Well, it's my pleasure, but it's always a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. We get the odd occasion to do that when we see each other at chamber events, or actually you pop into the office once in a while and just to find out what's going on, and because you're an interested Cambridge citizen.
And also a member of the Chamber
And
of
also,
Commerce.
and that's probably why I see you most often, because you're always rattling my chain. No, but it's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Linda, this is the toughest question any candidate ever gets faced with, I think, ever. Why are you running?
I think the biggest reason I'm running is I was a 10-year city councillor and enjoyed it very much, and I felt after the last 10 years of being on city council that it was time to, I really truly believe in term limits, so I felt it was my time to leave. I also would have enjoyed being the mayor last time, and as you know, I ran in the last election.
Yep.
And I got silver.
In the Olympics, that's not a bad thing.
No kidding. So in the past 4 years, I've really come to recollect that I really would like to try to be mayor.
Well, you've kind of stayed involved with the community too. Your
sure.
passion and interest,
For sure.
Family history, all kinds of things keeps you involved in the community.
And I really think it's time, like I said, I believe in term limits, and I really think it's time for Mr. Craig, the present mayor, to step down. I really feel that change is needed. I think he has taken us on a certain road, and a certain path, and he's done whatever it is he can possibly do to the city. I think he has achieved this, and I think it's time now for someone else to step in and possibly take us down a different road.
Yeah, all good reasons. What do you think, Linda, is the number one issue facing Cambridge and every other municipality in the province today?
Well, obviously, I feel, other than taxes, we're not getting enough money at the municipalities. I truly feel our infrastructure is in chaos, and I really feel that needs to be fixed immediately.
Well, you mentioned a little bit of it in the beginning where you said we don't get enough money.
We don't.
We can't go crazy in taxing property owners.
Yes.
That's got to be held in check to some degree. You got any ideas on where that could come from?
Well, years ago we got from FCM 1% of the gas tax. That went strictly to infrastructure. That probably should possibly go to 2%.
And you bring up an interesting point, because I've said it a couple of times on these interviews where when I was younger, I always thought that the gas tax was for roads and infrastructure. It seems that over the years, both the province and the federal government have kind of taken the gas tax and thrown it into general revenues and spent it on almost everything but infrastructure. I know they do have the federal roads that they're responsible for and that kind of thing, but really that's what that gas tax was for.
Yes.
And municipalities spend probably more collectively than either the provincial or federal government together on infrastructure. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. And it did what it did. There was a lot of fixes made, but it didn't go deep enough.
Yeah.
I mean, we're suffering in Cambridge here with 100-year-old pipes. I mean, just the other day in Guelph Ave, they showed it a sewer cave in.
Yeah.
And the pipe they brought out was ductile type, and that's 100 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to stop.
Yeah.
We buy our water from the region, as you know, and because of our leaky pipes, we're losing at least $2 million a year, along with sewage, into our grounds.
Yeah.
That's just not right.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what has to be fixed, I feel, first and foremost.
Yeah, but you also recognize that the property taxpayer can't be paying all of that.
No, we can't.
It's got to come from elsewhere. It's interesting because we're on this subject. We may as well expand on it a little bit. But when you were on council, the province authorized the city of Toronto to have some taxing privileges, I think on license plate renewals. I think they
Yes.
get a little bit of tax off of that. What do you think about municipalities having taxing authorities?
Well, I would imagine it would be good in some ways, but I think they have to be careful. You would have to bring on board, like I know there's a lot of talk about a hotel tax. I think we would have to bring on board all the hotel owners, and we have a lot now in
Yeah,
Cambridge. At one time, we had very few hotels. Now we have a lot. So if a plan was put in place, we certainly would have to include them
Yeah.
to see how they feel about it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Frankly, Linda, the Chamber's looking for people, as we always are, that have big, bold ideas that not only carry us over the next 4 years, but beyond that, because some big, bold ideas just can't happen in a 4-year time frame. What's Linda Whetham's big, bold idea?
Well, I don't have any huge, big, bold ideas. There is one that I'm hearing at the doors, I'm hearing in the coffee shops, that people are wanting a big sportsplex, convention centers. They want these things. They feel we're a big enough region now to have these things. My problem with it is I'm ever mindful of property taxes. That, in my foremost thoughts, that is what we have to protect. However, I would put in a plan where we would invite all the Chamber of Commerce, all the swimming pool enthusiasts, the hockey people, the service clubs, who, as you know, are the backbone of our community.
Absolutely.
I mean, my Kiwanis Club alone raised millions of dollars to put in place the bridges.
Well, without them,
Yeah.
we couldn't have the community we have without them.
Millions of dollars were raised to build apartments from Kiwanis, not for profit. So my idea would be to bring all these folks together, every single one, every lacrosse team, hockey team, every sports, every arena, and bring in these people and then sit down and make a plan to fundraise, like they did in Elmira and
Yep.
Ayr and Wellesley. And then when we have a big pot of money, which these people could raise, and then go to council with this big plan.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we could have a partnership with Conestoga College. They have the land, it's right on the 401. There's something there that could be done in partnership with them, just for one idea to throw out there. And that door right now is closed because of problems that were experienced with the present day mayor. That door would be open for me as
Yeah.
mayor, and I could sit down and we could put in place a plan where we're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars, where we could utilize the people that are in these groups, where we didn't have to spend out $100,000 for studies.
I think, we would, obviously, as you well know, the Chamber would be right in sync with those kinds of thoughts that, we can't just look to government to provide everything.
Yes.
Government needs to be the spine and needs to be the activator, but and maybe the inspiration. But we can't look to them just to build everything that we want. We need to really think outside the box and get into the private-public partnership arrangements with just about everything that we do. And I think we've got some good examples in the community. The Ice Park was a private-public partnership. The YMCA, another one that were good public-private partnerships that ended up creating something for the community to use at large.
I know I had a phone call a few weeks ago from the Aquajets, one of the people on the swimming pool, Aquajets, saying, we really need a new pool, a big pool. So she said to me, how could we attain this? And I said, you know what, start fundraising. And after you fundraised, come to me. We'll see what we can do then.
I think while you were on council, I think the soccer community did a good job of fundraising to get the bubble.
That's right. That's right.
And there was a little bit of community support and help,
Yep.
which is fine, but there was
Yep.
corporate help, and then
Yes.
there was just civic involvement
Yep.
as well that created
Yeah.
that.
And it brings forth such a good feeling with people.
know.
I mean, the opening of that, people were just beyond
Yeah.
themselves that they had done that. So yeah.
Speaking of that, one of the Chamber's priorities is a convention center. It always has been for a long, long time. We always, believe that, certainly having the opportunity for not just local businesses to to have their annual general meetings or conferences or trade shows, but also to inspire others to come here and experience the community, but also to bring their wallets with them and spend money in our stores. There's no question about it. Conference centers do create a large element of economic spin-off. However, we agree that it's not the municipality's responsibility to build it. It's the private sector's responsibility to build it. But what would you do to help the chamber, obviously, in inspiring a developer to come along or someone to come along and say, yeah, we should build one here?
Yeah. We certainly have the land, that's for sure. We have lots of land available on the 401. In partnership with the city certainly could work. They've done it before with other different organizations, and we're worthy of these types of things in Cambridge. We're big enough for it.
Well, we got a great geographic location too. We're right on the 401. You know, the busiest highway in Canada, they say. We're an hour's drive from the wealthiest population in the world. And I don't know why we don't have it.
Yeah, and all these things are wonderful, and there certainly are business people in this community that do have the bucks that could put this in place.
Yeah, for sure. We know them all. Speaking of that, which is an economic driver, and that's the sole reason why the Chamber is really supportive of a convention center coming here. But the region as a whole as well, along with the partner municipalities, are looking at a new model of economic development in the region. Largely driven by the fact that we lost Maple Leaf, and there's many of us that feel we should never have lost Maple Leaf as an employer in the region of Waterloo. We lost some opportunities with another company Dr. Oker was looking to locate here. They ended up going to London. It really was that neither one of them felt the warmth and love that the community really wanted to embrace them. So it spawned this study on, are we doing the right things? Is the region poised to attract and retain large employers? And it's leading down the path to the creation of a new organization that would be the Waterloo Region Economic Development Authority. They would really look after foreign direct investment, similar to, well, basically what CTT looks after now. But it would also open up an office at the region of Waterloo, where there'd be an Office of Economic Development now, and they would guide the strategic direction on how and who we would go after to kind of locate in the region. What do you think of all of this? Or do you think that maybe Cambridge should be looking at doing this on our own?
I think anything that's going to help the community is fair, but I think we need to reach out further. As you know, my good friend had the opportunity here, a firm deal with IKEA to come to town. That was squashed. That was squashed by our city, and I don't know all the details. All I know is it was a firm deal at Town Line and 401. But because it was bordering on the border of Cambridge and Puslinch, it failed. And that's so sad to see. We need to work with our surrounding areas. We need to sit down. The mayor of Puslinch was on board with this, but because it was on the border, it didn't happen. I'm thinking that's sad. That would have brought hundreds and hundreds of jobs.
And decent jobs.
Yes.
Jobs that are critically important to some of our youth.
Yeah. So that type of thing angers me, because you cannot be small-minded in our separate councils. We have to look at the big picture. We're the region now, and I know we're amalgamated, and I know people still have hard feelings about that, but I can't see it ever going back. So now it's time. We have to work with them to get the best deal for Cambridge that we can.
Yeah, a lot of people would say that, those types of issues, why didn't you land them? And I think of Maple Leaf moving. How did Hamilton get Maple Leaf away from?
Yes.
Now, granted, it's Maple Leaf now, not Schneider's. Schneider's started in a garage in Kitchener. I think there were many who thought Schneider's is never going to go away, but Maple Leaf was the owner, and they're a pretty national firm. How do we retain those? What kind of an attitude do we create that keeps those?
Well, that too has a lot to do with downsizing, and the market. We're losing a lot of our jobs. Yeah. So I think the manufacturers also have got to come together, because they want to expand.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening is it's just not there anymore. There's just so much to be paid out by the corporations. So they also, when it came into, I don't want to name the place because my son works there, but when the minimum wage was raised, he got a call from head office saying, you have to get rid of 200 hours. And that's how they handled it.
Yeah.
So it's like...
well, we're bordering on provincial politics,
Yes.
but provincial and federal politics does find its way into the mayor's office.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Continually,
Yes.
even as a local councillor, when you were
Yes.
on council, there were a lot of issues
Yes.
that you needed to lobby
Yes.
for. Even though you can't set the rules,
Yes.
you need to lobby for
Yeah.
those rules. And oftentimes that's what dictates an environment where jobs can be created. Because jobs is an important issue.
Oh, for sure. And you have to leave party politics at the door. You have to get along with, it doesn't matter whatever you are, NDP, Liberal, Conservative, Libertarian. You have to leave all that and you have to get along.
Yeah.
You have to have an open mind.
Yeah, because it's about the best interest of everybody, and that's interesting.
And so far too many times now on the municipal level, I'm starting to see party politics sneak in.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
sad.
It's so sad.
Because I think even when I served on it, what I really liked about it, and you and I have had this conversation before, is that division of party politics is there. You can sit on both sides of the fence and sometimes right on the fence and be comfortable.
And it's too bad because people, all of us in Cambridge, want the same thing.
Exactly.
Whatever you are. We want housing and we want food for our children and we want, activities for them. All of us want that.
Yeah.
So there's no reason we can't get along.
No, it's just different ways of getting there, and who can get there the fastest, I guess, or the cheapest.
It's like, what's that old saying? I feed my family first
Yeah.
before I feed my neighbors.
Yeah.
But some of us feel let's feed our neighbors first before we feed our families.
Yeah. We're talking federal politics now.
Okay.
As you well know, Linda, the Chamber was opposed to LRT. We were opposed to it for a couple of reasons. One, we had to pay for it and we didn't feel we were ever going to see it. The second, or probably the primary reason really was, we felt that it wasn't the right technology or the right time to do it. However, that's just my ability to make sure that everybody watching these videos understands I'm still a little bitter. However, I get over
course,
things like
yes.
that. Democracy prevailed, the vote was taken,
Yes.
and it won.
Yes.
We're getting LRT, like it or lump it. We now have a federal or a provincial party in power that has a majority government. They can make decisions. We have a member of the provincial legislature in our riding. The premier has said maybe there's an opportunity to speed it up and get LRT into Cambridge. We still have to provide the data that says we need it. We don't have the ridership right now. How would you propose going forward and making that case, or do you believe that we should just sit back and wait for our turn?
Well, myself, I know 4 years ago when it became a reality about the LRT, I couldn't get my head around the billions of dollars that it's going to cost. That's a tough one for me because
I know, as a tax hater yourself, I know.
Yeah. But anyways, I did have reservations. I thought more should be done with the 401, the busiest highway in Canada. I thought that could be utilized better. But now that it's coming, I think, again, we need to sit back. We need to watch. We need to really watch it carefully and see how the ridership does, see how they do with the LRT that's going to be put in place. And we need to really be leery, and we need to watch, and we need to get the best deal for Cambridge. And if we're paying for LRT, then it would be nice to have it someday if, and it's a big if, so I think we just should play the wait and
Do you
watch
think
game.
the big move recently, well, not recently, heck, you and I have been talking about it or heard about it for 40 years nearly, about bringing GO service to Cambridge, which is maybe a better reality now because of having an MPP sitting in the government, but do you think that would help justify that need? Do you think that would coordinate things with a local public transportation system like LRT?
Who wouldn't want GO train? You know,
Yeah.
that's been in the works for a lot of years with Cambridge trying to get this.
Well, your whole 10 years was spent, Go Train was always on the agenda.
Yeah. So, again, I think we should keep working towards trying to obtain that. Work with the new MPP and see if that can be put in place. I do know a lot of land has been bought up Shant Station Road. I think
Yeah.
that's where the next GO train is going. So it's not too far out for us. But again, I think we should take our
Yeah.
statistics and see, because of course we'd want GO here in Cambridge.
You know, I've told a lot of people that I've interviewed that I've never ridden Go. Not because I wouldn't like to. I'm sure I maybe would like to. But for me to drive from here to Burlington or Milton, drive off the 401, find a parking space, go in, buy a ticket, and then drive in or ride into Toronto just seems too complicated. Once I'm in my car, I'll drive and find a parking spot. However, that's getting more and more complicated. But I've often said that, you know, maybe if we had two-way all-day Go service from Cambridge, because most of my meetings are at Queen's Park or down around the Ontario Chamber of Commerce is down around Queen's Park as well. It would be really convenient. The Go might find a new rider
Yes.
in people like me. Do you think that's...
Oh, for sure. Because nobody wants to travel the 401 anymore.
No.
You really are taking your life.
Oh, yeah.
So it would certainly be a much safer way to travel.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for the Ministry of Transportation when GO was put in place, and I remember my sister worked for the Ministry of Transportation, so she was asked to go and be one of the first girls
Oh,
to bring people on, and it was quite an exciting time in our family to see my sister there
Yeah.
in her little green uniform opening up
Yeah.
the GO Transit.
have you used it?
So-
Have you used the
I
service?
have.
you?
I have been on it. Yes, I have.
Do you? It's comfortable.
Yes.
It's you can sit there and do work and.
Yes. No, I've used it, and we weren't. It was straight through, so yeah, it worked out. I enjoyed it. We've been on it about 5 times now.
I look at it and say, man, it would be really convenient if I could leave here like early in the morning, go to my meeting, and be back here by lunch. My concern always is, first of all, if you're driving,
Yes.
you got to be out of Toronto by 2:30, or you're in trouble.
Yes.
You're not going to get home at a reasonable hour, and sometimes even in the afternoon. I had a meeting with the Minister of Labour not long ago, a few weeks ago, and it was a 4:00 in the afternoon meeting. Well, you know what time I got home. It was closer to 9:00 than it was
Yeah,
closer to
it's-
5:00. So, but I think it would be a great service, and I think it would be well used. Provided, though, my concern always is it needs to be considered to be two-way all day, because I think what we're experiencing in Kitchener, it's once a day in and out of Toronto, and the ridership is nowhere near what they expected it to be. So we really need to look
No,
at that.
I agree with that for sure.
This is something that you were probably familiar with from your first 10 years sitting as a local councillor, but the regional airport. I use it quite a bit. In fact, I use it every opportunity I can, because first of all, I want to make sure the service stays there, so I like to use the service. And I now am quite familiar with O'Hare Airport, and you can get great burgers there. So it's not bad to have to get off and change planes, because you usually got an hour or so to do that. But I think it's critically important, and certainly we believe that it's an important economic driver in the regional Waterloo, not just for Cambridge, but for everybody in the area, and probably even Guelph as well. There's been a study done to look at how do we deal with noise issues, growth, and make the airport a better airport for the people who live here and work here. And they came out with 4 different options. Option 1 was basically do nothing. Option 2 was do nothing except paint the outside of the building. Option 3 looked at a way where really private sector investment could help build out the airport a little bit more, and maybe reduce some of the dependency on the taxpayer, because right now we're paying about, I think, $6 million a year of regional tax dollars go into the airport. And the idea would be to reduce that as much as possible and move it all to to as much private sector investment as possible. You've had issues, I'm sure, you've heard of individuals who have noise issues and all that kind of thing. What do you think about expansion of our Waterloo Region Airport?
Well, we're such a huge region now and getting nothing but bigger, that's for sure. And as you know, I live 5 minutes away from the airport, so I know about the noise. And to honestly tell you the truth, we don't hear the noise as much as you would think. The only noise, and we're right there. They go right by our tree line. The small jets. The small jets are a little noisy, and there's one jet that goes out to I think it's
Baffin Island, I believe. Yeah.
That's right, and that one's noisy. But as far as the Calgary jets and whatnot, they go straight up. They really don't bother us as much as now. If they get busier, they quite possibly could.
Yeah.
But that's growth, and like I say, we're in such a huge region now, and there's no going back.
No, and yeah, have you ever used our airport for anything?
Yes, I have.
Have you?
Yes, I have.
Like, how more convenient can you have than driving?
It's wonderful.
2 minutes out there, you're, 8 steps away from the front door. It's just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it is. There's no lineups.
I know.
You go right in and fly out. No,
It can be a pain in the neck to have to drive to Pearson. I always, obviously, my first check is always American Airlines to see what I can get out of Kitchener, and if I can't get out of Kitchener, well, then you have to go somewhere else. But I've even said, I can get a direct flight out of Toronto, and it's, I have to take, I have to change planes in Chicago, but I still do the change plane thing because, first of all, we got to support this, but second of all, I just love coming home and getting in my car, and 10 minutes later I'm walking in my house. You can't beat that.
And I know rules have to be put in place. I know we can't have jets going all day and all night and all the time. So there are rules.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Where do you see Cambridge in 25 years, Linda?
Well, I see Cambridge as the best place in the world to raise my children and my grandchildren. I hope that I'm in a really nice seniors home in Cambridge. Nothing but the best. I mean, all in all, I think Cambridge is a wonderful place to live. I truly do. I want the best. So for my grandchildren, who are right here in my heart, and your grandchildren, so I want the nicest parks and playgrounds and swimming pools and no debt and all those wonderful things. Safe places to live.
Yeah, it's and I think that comes from individuals like us who've spent a lifetime in the community. I get concerned all the time. I can remember when my kids were growing up, and first thing they were saying, there's nothing to do in Cambridge. You always kind of, your brow starts to sweat because you think, gee, my kids are going to grow up, go to school, get married, and move somewhere else. I want them right here. But, we need to create the type of community where people want to live here, work here, raise their families.
Yeah, for sure. And right now, we're obtaining these goals. But I just think at such a cost, we really have to pull back the reins of the public purse. We really have to watch the monies that we spend because people can't afford to live here any longer with the escalating costs of everything. So that has to be kept in check.
Yeah.
And I know with the downloading that they've done years ago from the province, it's difficult.
Well, it seemed they downloaded the services, but not much of the money.
Yes, yeah, and that's hard. And I mean, we need housing.
Yeah.
We need all
yeah.
kinds of things.
And then we want.
Yeah.
We always want and need more than we can afford. But anyway,
That's right.
I'm really excited, Linda. And I'm really excited about this election because I think I've told a lot of people, if you don't think Cambridge City Council made any bright decisions in the last 4 years, I'd say you're wrong, that they made at least one bright decision, and that was deciding to go with online and telephone voting this time around. I look at it and say, the internet's over 25 years old. This is the 21st century. For crying out loud, almost every day you hear people talking about cars coming out that drive by themselves. And yet, You know, you do your banking online, you'll do investment banking online, you do lots of things online that need security. Why can't we vote online? So I'm really excited because I'm going to get Lisa to take a picture of me on October the 11th, casting my ballot online in my pajamas. What do you think of online voting?
Well, I won't be in my pajamas. I'll be out there.
Come on!
I'll be out there watching to make sure
Yeah.
that it's done in a timely, honest fashion. Well, it's a new state of the art. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%. I hope it works out. None of the other communities that I know of around us are doing that. So I just hope it works. So.
I hope so too, because I think, you know, we obviously know that the internet's not going to go away anytime soon. It's going to get more and more a part of our lives if it's not already consuming our lives. And, you know, if it engages more people that don't, you know, people like me and people like you who have always got dressed and get up and jump in their car or go out on the street and walk to the poll and make sure that you mark your ballot. I think, you know, there's a lot of people that just don't do that and look at it as an inconvenience. But if we can provide a mechanism to provide convenience, I think we need to look at it.
I just hope that the ones using online are know what they're doing. I hope that they've sat down and read what's going on and really understand municipal politics.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a time when I was younger, my first vote, I probably would have voted by the sound of if I liked the person's name, if they were a female, if they were
Yeah.
a male. So I would just encourage our youth
Get engaged.
to get engaged. And
Yeah,
by
I'm
the
trying to
way,
figure
my
it out.
granddaughter votes for the very first time.
Oh, very good. That's exciting.
Yeah, she turns 18 next week, and
That's great.
hope she votes for Nana.
Yeah. Linda, is there any last words that you want to say to the voters of Cambridge?
No, just please get out and vote. It's very important. Municipal politics are the closest to all of us. They're the ones that affect our children and our grandchildren and the history of Cambridge for years to come. So it's very, very important to get out and vote.
Thank you very much, Linda. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out Chamber Web TV. Again, this is Cambridge Votes 2014, a conversation with the candidates for the October 27th municipal election. Again, I'm Greg DeRocher, and it's been my pleasure to sit down with mayoral candidate Linda Whetham. Linda, all the best.
Oh, thank you so much.